Good, beautiful Monday morning. What's going on, good people? Today is Monday, November 17th, 2025. Time is 9:08 Eastern Time, and you're on another episode I like to call Monday Morning Quarterback on The Bridge 45. Basically talking about college football recaps, NFL scores, guys that went hard in the paint, the NBA, and other sports news is going on right now. So let's just right into it. Big weekend in college football, some shakeups in the top 25. Some teams lost that we weren't expecting to lose, but it's time of year. Anybody can get got, anybody can lose in this day and age. So let's jump right into it. All right. Oregon had no problem with Minnesota taking them down 42-13. Clemson in a big win in the ACC shocked and beat Louisville 20-19 in Louisville. Ole Miss beat Florida 34-24. Miami Hurricanes, that's right to you. Get a huge win over North Carolina State 41-7. Ohio State took care of business against UCLA 48-10. Indiana beat Wisconsin 31-7. Texas A&M, this was probably the game of Saturday. South Carolina had them down 30-3 at halftime, and Texas A&M said, "Watch this, hold our beer." 31-30. South Carolina did not score any more points, and Texas A&M roared back to stay in the top. They are the number 3 team in the country, and they are undefeated in the SEC. That was a huge victory for Texas A&M to come back like that and to win 31-30 at College Station in College Station, Texas. So let's get into some more scores. Oklahoma, definitely a shocker of the weekend. They go into Tuscaloosa and get a huge, tough victory over Alabama 23-21. Georgia had no problem with Texas taking them down 35-10. Central Florida was completely beat down by Texas Tech. They lost 48-9. Notre Dame beat Pittsburgh 37-15. BYU took care of business against TCU 44-13. Utah beat Baylor 55-28. Georgia Tech, they were down also against Boston College and fought all the way back in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts to get a huge win over Boston College 36-34. USC took care of Iowa 26-21. Michigan beat Northwestern in Wrigley Field in Chicago 24-22. Virginia took down Duke 34-17. Tennessee had no problem with New Mexico State beating them 42-9. Navy beat South Florida 41-38, and Arizona took down Cincinnati 30-24. The losses that were huge, like I said, Oklahoma taking down Alabama. Nobody expected that for them to go into Tuscaloosa and do that. That's definitely going to shake up the top 25. Some other losses that took place. Texas took them down in the ACC because Texas was ranked very high, if I'm not mistaken. So they'll definitely drop because this is Texas' third loss of the year. So that's definitely going to shake up some things in the top 25. And a huge top 25 showdown that's coming up next week will be Oregon taking on USC, if I'm not mistaken. You see the USC or Washington, one of those schools. But I think Oregon is ranked number 8, and USC or Washington is ranked number 17. So definitely some big matchups coming up in college football. We're definitely getting down to the last few weeks of the regular season. We're going into rivalry weekend after Thanksgiving, and it's going to be conference play, and then it's going to be time for playoffs. It's going to be playoff football. The high school playoffs are already in full swing around the country. It's amazing how fast the football season, once it gets started, it goes by in a blur. We're already, Thanksgiving is next week, so it's amazing how fast the season goes by. But anyway, let's jump into the pros. Let's get to the Shield, the NFL. Thursday night football, Patriots take down the Jets 27-14. Story of that game. Justin Fields had 116 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had 67 yards rushing and a touchdown. Mechie III had a TD catch. Story of the game for the Patriots, who are definitely the shock of this season. Drake May had 281 yards, 1 touchdown. Henderson had 62 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown. Diggs had 9 receptions and 105 yards. Also, congratulations to him. As everybody knows, him and Cardi B just had a new baby together, so he's a father. I don't know if this is his first child, but congratulations to them. Over across the pond in the first game ever in Madrid, Spain. In overtime, the Miami Dolphins get a huge win, 16-13 over the Washington Commanders. Story of the game for the Commanders: Mariota had 213 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Rodriguez Jr. had 79 yards rushing. Debo Samuel had 74 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Story of the game for the Dolphins, Tua had 171 yards passing. He was sacked 3 times. Achane was the man for them and had 120 yards. Gordon, the second, had a rushing touchdown. Waddle had 53 yards. So, first game ever in Madrid, Spain goes to the Miami Dolphins. They win 16-13 in overtime. Huge game that I actually watched yesterday was the Steelers against the Bengals. It's always a dogfight when they play each other. Pittsburgh gets the win, 34-12. Story of the game for the Bengals. Flacco had 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Brown had 99 yards rushing. Higgins had 63 yards receiving and 1 touchdown. Story of the game for Steelers, Rodgers, he was injured, but he did have 116 yards and 1 touchdown. Mason Rudolph came in and had 127 yards and a touchdown. Warren had 62 yards. Gainwell had 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Story of the game, though, the Pittsburgh defense had 2 defensive touchdowns. That was what separated the game and broke it open for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jalen Ramsey was ejected because he threw a punch at Jamar Chase, and it's believed that Jamar Chase may have spat on Jalen Ramsey during that game. So if that's true, Chase may be suspended, and he's definitely probably going to get a fine. Jalen Ramsey will get a fine too, because anytime you throw a punch, they're going to fine you, and you may be suspended for the next some of the next game. So, but in the end, Pittsburgh get a huge win in the AFC North, 34-12 over the Bengals. Duval, Jacksonville Jaguars, they had no problem with the LA Chargers yesterday, taking them down 35-6. Story of the game for the Chargers. Herbert had 81 yards passing, 1 interception. Trey Lance came in, had 37 yards passing. Allen had 53 yards, and that was pretty much it. They only got 2 field goals. Jacksonville, the Jaguars had Lawrence had 153 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Totten had 74 yards and a touchdown. Myers had 64 yards. Huge win for Jacksonville. They are definitely another surprise team that a lot of people didn't think that they were going to do what they're doing right now, but they get a huge win, 35-6 over the Chargers. The shootout game yesterday was the Buffalo Bills take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 44-32. Story of the game for the Bucs, Mayfield had 173 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Tucker had 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Shepard had 54 yards. Story of the game for the Bills, Josh Allen had 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Shavers, Cook, the third, and Johnson all had a touchdown catch. So Buffalo definitely rebounded after that loss they took. Tampa Bay, they put up a valiant effort, but Buffalo's just too strong at home. And you know, some of the mystique is that when those teams from Florida come up north during the cold weather months, they don't tend to fare so well. But Buffalo outlasted the Bucs 44-32. Minnesota Vikings lost to the Chicago Bears 19-17 on the last second field goal. Story of the game for the Bears, Caleb Williams had 193 yards. Swift had 90 yards rushing. Mananji, I guess I'm saying his name right, had a rushing touchdown. Story of the game for the Vikings, McCarthy had 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Jones had 76 yards rushing. Mason had a rushing touchdown. Addison had a touchdown catch. Huge game for the Bears because they are now in the division lead in the NFC North. A lot of people didn't see that happening, but it is what it is, and that's what your record says you are. Caleb Williams is progressing good. That team is definitely winning games that a lot of people didn't think they would win, especially going into Minnesota. So that is a huge, huge win for the Bears in Minnesota. Houston, Texas keep finding a way to get things done. They beat the Titans 16-13 in Nashville. Mills had 270. Story of the game for the Texans. Mills had 274 yards, 1 touchdown. Marks had 44 yards. Rushing, Collins had 92 yards and 1 touchdown. Tennessee Titans, story of the game for them. Ward had 194 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 33 yards rushing. Jefferson had a TD catch. Huge win for the Texans. They are 5-5. They are finding a way to keep their season afloat and stay in the hunt for the AFC South. In overtime, the Panthers get a huge win in Atlanta, 30-27. Story of the game for the Panthers. Young had 448 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the most passing yards in Carolina Panthers history. Rico Dowdle had 45 yards. Riley McMillan had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Falcons, story of the game for them, Penix Jr. had 175 yards passing. Robinson had 104 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. London had 119 yards receiving. For the Carolina Panthers, they are another surprise team because no one expected them to do what they're doing right now. To go into Atlanta, get a huge win like that, that is going to boost their confidence, and that is definitely putting them on a trajectory to have a surprise season because everybody thought that they were going to be in lock for a #1 draft pick or a top 10 pick. But Bryce Young, he has definitely made strides, and the Carolina Panthers are playing some good ball this year. The Green Bay Packers go into East Rutherford and get a huge win against the New York Giants, 27-20. Story of the game for the Packers. Jordan Love had 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. Willis had a TD pass because Jordan Love was shaken up, but he was able to come back into the game. Wilson had a rushing touchdown. Watson had 2 touchdowns receiving. Story of the game for the Giants. Jameis Winston came in at 201 yards passing, 1 interception. Singletary had 2 rushing touchdowns. Tracy Jr. also had 88 yards receiving. So the Green Bay go in there and get a huge win, a win that they need in order to stay in the hunt for the division to keep up with the Chicago Bears in the NFC North. Another game of the day, Seattle and the Rams. The Rams get a huge win in LA, 21-19. Story of the game for the Seahawks. Darnold had 279 yards. He struggled. He had 4 interceptions. Walker had 62 yards rushing and a touchdown. Smith and Jigba had 105 yards. Story of the game for the Rams. Stafford had 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Williams had 91 yards rushing and a touchdown. Nakua had 75 yards. Adams and Parker had a TD catch each. So that is definitely a separator for the NFC West because they were both had the same record. So the Rams get a huge win in the NFC West against the Seattle Seahawks, 21-19. San Francisco 49ers just find a way to keep getting it done despite all the injuries. Get a huge win in Arizona, 41-22. Story of the game for the 49ers, Brock Purdy came back, 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. McCaffrey had 81 yards, rushing 2 touchdowns. Kittle, 67 yards, 2 TDs, and McCaffrey also had a touchdown catch. Story of the game for the Cardinals. Brissett had 452 yards. He had the most completions in an NFL game ever. He also had 2 touchdowns and 2 picks. Knight had a rushing touchdown. Wilson had 185 yards receiving. And McBride had 115 yards in the touchdown also. So 49ers get a huge win in the NFC West. The Baltimore Ravens get a tough win in the AFC North against the Cleveland Browns, 23-16. Lamar Jackson, he was sacked 5 times, but he has 193 yards, 2 interceptions. Derrick Henry had 103 yards rushing and a touchdown. Mark Andrews also had a 35-yard rushing touchdown for the Ravens. Story of the game, Dylan Gabriel was injured. Shedeur Sanders made his debut in the game for the Cleveland Browns. He had 47 yards and an interception. Judkins had 59 yards rushing. Tillman had 52 yards. Myles Garrett was the man for the Cleveland Browns. He had 4 of those 5 sacks. 4 sacks for the Cleveland Browns. But Baltimore Ravens get a win. They are now, I think they won like 4 or 5 straight since everybody is healthy. Watch out for the Ravens. Here they come. Game of the day, Broncos take down the Kansas City Chiefs 22-19. That second field goal. I think that's the first time they beat the Chiefs in a while. It's like someone said this is the first meaningful game in Denver in like almost a decade. Story of the game for the Chiefs, Mahomes had 276 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Hunt had 59 yards rushing and a touchdown. Kelsey had 91 yards and a TD. Story of the game for the Broncos, Knicks had 295 yards. McLaughlin had a rushing touchdown, and Franklin had 84 yards receiving. This Denver team, with that defense, and as long as Bo Nix can not be a game manager, but just don't drive the car off the road. That defense is a top 5 defense. They may be the top defense in the league. And when you're playing them in Mile High, and they get the rolling. And my best friend Horsey, who was a Denver Broncos fan, he made a great point on Facebook last night. They didn't have their leading rusher in Dobbins. They did not have their leading tackler, and they did not have one of the best cornerbacks in the game, Patrick Surtain. So it could have been worse. They didn't even have all their weapons, and they still got the victory. So a huge victory for the Denver Broncos, who are now going into their bye week. They are well ahead of the Chargers and the Chiefs. They play again, the Broncos and the Chiefs play again Christmas night, but it might not even matter for the division because they are so far ahead right now. They won like 8 straight, so huge season for the Broncos. Sunday night game, the Eagles get the win 16-19 over the Detroit Lions. Story of the game for the Lions, Goff had 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Gibbs had 107 receiving yards. Williams also had 88 yards and a touchdown. Story of the game for the Eagles, Hurts had 135 yards. He also had a rushing touchdown. Barkley had 88 yards rushing, and A.J. Brown had 49 yards receiving after all the hoopla and talk that was made last week about him getting targets. He was targeted, I think, 10 or 11 times, caught 7 of them for 49 yards. Listen, the Eagles are 8-2, and it was an ugly win. The last 2 games they played have been ugly wins. But you know, at this time of year, it's not about style points. You just want to get dubs. Now, of course, you want to be playing, to me, you want to be playing your best ball, especially if you're a true contender for the championship. You want to be playing your best ball around Thanksgiving, which we are a week away. You want to be rolling. That's when you want you're hitting on all cylinders, you're clicking. You want to be playing your best ball. And the fact that the Eagles have not played their best ball yet and they're still 8-2 says a lot. That says a lot. It's not going to always be pretty. You're not going to always beat teams 42-14 or 42-17 and you're scoring 6 or 7 touchdowns a game. It's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that way. So, but they do get the huge win. Monday Night Football preview. Want to jump into it real quick. Cowboys taking on the Raiders. The Raiders in Vegas. This is the first time the Cowboys will be playing a regular season game in Las Vegas. It's a game the Cowboys have to have. The Raiders are not very good. They do have some pieces. Bowers, Gentry, the rookie, Max Crosby on the defensive end. But I expect if the Cowboys don't go out there and play with their food, take care of business, I expect them to get the win. I'm not going to say they're going to blow out the Raiders because it's hard to blow a team out in their building. But I expect the Cowboys, especially with the new weapons that they've acquired and some of the weapons that are coming back off injury, Quentin Williams, Logan Wilson, Overshawn, Rebel, the rookie, is some more pieces. I'm hoping Trayvon Diggs comes back either this week or next week. So the Cowboys are definitely getting reinforcements on the defense, which they desperately needed because the defense has not been good in the first half of the season. But the next 4 games are going to tell the tale for the Dallas Cowboys if they're trying to do anything and salvage this season. So, but it starts tonight, and you're not mathematically out of it if you lose against the Raiders. But if you can't beat the Raiders the way the Raiders are playing this season, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. And even if you do get there by some miracle, if you have to win tonight. Take care of business. Don't play with your food and go in there and handle business and get the win, which I expect the Cowboys should do tonight, is get the win in Las Vegas. But every time I thought the Cowboys was going to get a win this season, they play with their food, they wet the bed, see the games against Carolina, Chicago, and Arizona. So, but I expect the Cowboys to get the win. I hope and pray they get the win tonight in Vegas. So, guys, let's switch on to the association action. The association known as the NBA, guys that went hard in the paint last night. De'Aaron Fox had 28 points and 11 assists. James Harden had 37 points. Jaylen Brown had 33 points. Peyton Pritchard had 30 points for the Celtics, both of them. Michael Porter Jr. had 34 points. Kevin Durant had 35 points. Alperen Sengun had 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. I hope I said his name right. Moses Moody had 32 points, made 8 3-pointers for the Golden State Warriors. So I think that was a career high for him. Dylan Brooks had 34 points. Lauri Markkanen for the Jazz had 47 points. And Keontae George had 33 points. Those are the guys that went hard in the association in the NBA last night. And that is my edition for Monday Morning Quarterback. Latest in college football, NFL scores, guys that went hard in the paint in the NBA. I will be posting this to my YouTube page, DBridge45, so check it out. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, give me your comments, give me your feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel. Y'all stay safe. Y'all have a good one. Take care. If you're in the Philadelphia area like I am, batten down and bundle up because the hawk is hawking. It is cold outside. So, well, it's November. It's supposed to be cold, but y'all know what it is. Y'all take care, stay safe, and I will get at you guys next week. Until then, have a good one. Peace.